Hello there. All these new twists and turns in the Nigel Farage banking saga. They could make a film out of it. The lefties and the Ramonas are grasping this Nigel Farage banking problem and milking it for all they're worth, while some of them are also guilty of defamation and lying about it. And some are saying Farage didn't tell us certain things when he actually did. And if today's news is true, then the bank involved could well have broken data protection laws by discussing Farage's private financial details with the press. Maybe they're struggling to get off a hook. Who knows? Now, this all kicked off last Thursday with a video Farage released during the day. Here we learned that Farage had been given 2 months by his bank, that we later learnt was Coutts Bank, and was told to move his money out of his accounts and move the money to a new bank. And that time limit was fast approaching. He also said that he'd operated a personal account with that same banking group since the 1980s and had run a business account with them from the 1990s. Then on that same Thursday evening, Farage filled in some of the details, adding angrily that some close family members had also been told to close bank accounts. And that close family members bit is an aspect of this that some people forget. And also that just before he went on air that evening, he got a phone call from the bank at about 6:45 p.m. to offer him a personal bank account in the same group, NatWest. But crucially, this was after Farage had already broken the news. This did not happen beforehand, says Farage, only on that Thursday evening. But they said they wouldn't be offering him a business account straight away. Seems a bit strange to me, that one does. Unless they knew he needed a business account, but just wanted to look accommodating because of the amount of brown stuff accumulating in the fan. And today we hear the BBC claim that they'd talked to someone from Coutts and were basically told that Farage didn't meet the wealth criteria to have an account with them. Nigel Farage fell below the financial threshold required to hold an account at Coutts, the prestigious private bank for the wealthy, the BBC has been told. With the source telling the BBC, the criteria for holding a Coutts account are clear from the bank's website. And people have been rushing to point out that you need 3 million in savings or 1 million in investments with Coutts or a £1 million loan from them to open an account. To which Nigel tweeted in response, "At no point in the last 10 years did Coutts give me a minimum threshold. More importantly, the offer of a NatWest personal account only came after I went public last Thursday. No business solution was offered, and they even denied I was a PEP, which is why 9 other banks have said no. A PEP being a politically exposed person whose finances need more oversight by the bank than those of non-politicians or officials. And it could well be argued that the banking source gave out more information on Farage than they should have done. And Nigel also said, "The idea that they have been generous in offering me a NatWest account is absolute cobblers. As far as they were concerned, I was to leave the group and they were perfectly clear about that." Now, the FT is reporting that the eligibility criteria I spoke about a minute ago might be the source of Nigel's woes, and that one of the people they say is close to the situation told them that Nigel Farage had recently redeemed a Coutts mortgage, something that might have taken him out of the Coutts eligibility bracket. And there is also some confusion over whether Farage is a politically exposed person or not. Farage says the bank told him he wasn't, but the FT was told he was considered by NatWest to be a low-level PEP. It also transpires from the FT that Farage was told after being with NatWest for 30 years that in order for them to be able to offer him currency services, he would have to move his banking to Coutts, which NatWest has owned since 1969. So it suggests Farage has been with Coutts for about a decade. That would therefore suggest it would have been prior to and after the 2016 EU referendum. And surely during all that period, as an MEP and leader of UKIP, Farage would probably have been very high up on the PEP classifications, something that has been around under EU law since 2003. That's 20 years. Now remember that the FT says that NatWest told them that Farage was a low-level PEP. Now the Law Society says that with lower risk PEPs, asking basic questions and documenting the responses may adequately mitigate the increased risk of money laundering if there's no question of unusual funding and the transaction is regularly carried out by non-PEPs. Doesn't sound that onerous, and seems that Coutts and NatWest have been very happy for the last decade, even through those difficult Brexit years and all those accusations of Russian money. Now, the lefties and Brexit haters will not be listening to any of this. They just say that Nigel Farage is dodgy and that nothing he says is true. But what he has said does seem consistent to me. And if he has trousered millions in dodgy Russian money over the years, as some people like Chris Bryant allege under parliamentary privilege, then where is it if Farage hasn't the wherewithal to have a Coutts account? But the lefties and Ramonas would much rather believe everything that the BBC and the bankers say. Anyway, I saw a couple of tweets in the mix today saying that many Coutts personal accounts are well below the limit stated on their website, and one said that they just charge a fee if that's the case. But who knows? And Toby Young of the Free Speech Union has come out and tweeted, "There's a clear pattern here, and it's nowt to do with insufficient funds." Something I tend to agree with, especially as, if Coutts are saying he didn't have sufficient funds in his account, why are all the other banks turning him down? And the French are now extremely keen to tell us, their wonderful partners and friends in the UK, that it's perfectly safe to visit their country and spend our money there. Yes, the Telegraph reports that Macron's Minister for the Economy has told us that all is well, normality restored, and the safety of UK tourists is guaranteed. And he also said they were impatient to see King Charles III visit after the pensions protests scuppered the last visit. And it does now appear that the level of protest has dropped, with only 159 vehicles being set alight last night, 202 fires being set, and only 72 people having been arrested overnight. Peace has descended. But there are some big upcoming events in France, and I gather the French authorities are worried they might be targeted by rioters later on down the line. And the recollection of their visit to France might not be so pleasant for many of our Liverpool fans who attended the Champions League final. But the French do need our tourist sterling.